We'll start with the elongation. In yesterday's lecture, we have seen what is meant by the initiation step of protein biosynthesis. Okay, so elongation, it is elongation of protein biosynthesis, the second step. It is mediated, it is facilitated by a factor called elongation factor. And it is referred to as EFT. EF stands for elongation factor T. This elongation factor T, it is made up of two subunits. One is a heat stable subunit. It is called as TS. S stands for stable. And the other subunit is EFTU. U stands for unstable. Heat stable and heat unstable. Elongation factor T, it is dimer. It is made up of two subunits. One is stable to heat. We call it as TS. And the other one is unstable to heat. We call it as TU. This factor, it exists between GTP and GDP form. Okay, how does it, exist? Let us see that. So you have EFT. So what remains is EFTU GTP. So it exists between two forms, the GTP form and the GDP form. When GTP molecule comes and joins, the heat stable subunit leaves. So what remains is EFTU GTP complex. Okay, it has got a built-in GTPase activity. So this GTP, the bound GTP is hydrolyzed over a period of time. It gets converted to GDP, and in the GDP form, the TS comes and joins, and the GDP molecule leaves. So you generate the entire factor again. Okay. So should I repeat it once again? What does it mean? That it is made up of two subunits, TS and TU. It exists between GTP and GDP form, and it has got a built-in GTPase activity, right? And this is the cycle, GTP-GDP cycle. When the GTP molecule comes and joins, the TS subunit leaves. What remains is EFTU GTP. Then because of the GTPase activity, this GTP is hydrolyzed. So in the GDP form, the TS unit joins, GDP leaves the molecule, and the entire factor is regenerated, right? Okay, this is a major protein. Major ribosome, major bacterial protein. It is present up to about 5% of total bacterial proteins. This particular factor is present in abundance. So you have as much as 5% of the total bacterial protein alone is this factor, EFT alone, right? And as a result of this, its abundance, basically what happens, this factor, it is responsible for bringing in amino acid tRNA at the A site of ribosome. Okay, so this factor, it can bind to all amino acid tRNAs except the initiator tRNA. tRNA FMET, except this tRNA, it can bind to all amino acid tRNAs. Okay. You know, yesterday we discussed that tRNA FMET is recognized by initiation factor 2. Initiation factor 2 recognizes only this tRNA. It does not recognize any other amino acid tRNAs. See the mechanism of the nature, see the precision of the nature. To avoid any mistake, nature has made these exclusive arrangements that IF2 will only be recognizing the initiator tRNA, and the EFT, it will recognize all other tRNAs except the initiator tRNA. Okay. So because it is present in very high quantity, basically it sequesters all the amino acid tRNAs. All amino acid tRNAs, all the entire amino acid tRNA pool of the bacteria, it remains bound to the EFT, the elongation factor. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is that instead of having a pool of amino acid tRNAs, what bacteria maintains a inventory of amino acid tRNA EFTU complex. Please understand what is meant by this. So you have free amino acids. So we understood that free amino acids cannot participate directly in the protein biosynthesis. So these amino acids are pre-activated and they're charged on the tRNAs. So you have a pool of amino acid tRNAs. Now what I'm saying is that instead of maintaining a pool of free amino acid tRNAs, bacteria maintains a pool of amino acid tRNAs bound to the elongation factor. Okay, so because you have abundance of EFT, the TU subunit we are talking about, we have abundance of T, TU is a subunit of T. So the entire amino acid tRNA pool remains bound to this elongation factor. And a question that should come in your mind is, what is the necessity? Why it is so? So the necessity is that this particular bond, so we know that this is the tRNA, this is 5' end, this is the 3' end, and there is an anticodon here. Okay, here a CCA is there, and to the terminal A, this amino acid is charged. So this particular bond, it is fragile. So what nature has done, nature has made a provision to protect this particular bond. The entire pool of amino acid tRNA remains bound to the EFTU. So you have EFTU amino acid tRNA complex. Rather than free amino acid tRNAs, you have a complex of amino acid tRNAs bound to the unstable TU subunit of the elongation factor. What is the reason? The reason I am telling you that this particular bond, the ester bond by which the amino acid is esterified to the tRNA, that bond is fragile. So to protect this particular bond, what nature has done, nature has made this particular provision that your entire amino acid tRNA pool remains bound to the TU, so that this particular bond, it remains protected. Right? Now, let us see how this elongation factor, it facilitates elongation. Elongation basically, I forgot to mention, elongation basically means from first peptide bond formation till last peptide bond formation, all the activities will come under this particular stage, elongation stage. All right. So let us see how this bond, facilitates this. So let us say you have this is TU and this is TS, and both together is elongation factor T. All right. So a molecule of GTP will join. So you know now that TS subunit will leave. So you have what is called as EFTU GTP complex. then its job to pick up the amino acid tRNA. So you will have an amino acid tRNA EFTU GTP ternary complex. So it is the responsibility of this factor EFTU to pick up the correct amino acid tRNA. What is meant by correct amino acid tRNA? It will pick up that tRNA who the pickup of the tRNA will be based on what codon is present at the A site. If the codon is for, let's say, alanine, then this EFTU will pick up a tRNA who has a codon which is complementary to the who has an anticodon which is complementary to the codon of alanine, and it is charged with amino acid alanine. Okay, so the basis of picking up of tRNA by EFTU is what? It is what codon is present at the A site. Okay, based on that codon, it will pick up a tRNA which has got a complementary anticodon, and it is charged with the amino acid that codon codes for, right? So at the end of what you can say initiation, the picture was this. So let me draw this picture here. At the end of yesterday's lecture, we had this picture. This is the tRNA, you have the 5' end, this is the 3' end, let's say, and you had a initiated tRNA which was placed over here, amino acid 1. Okay, and there is a next codon here at the A site. Okay, so based on what codon is there, amino acid tRNA will be picked up by whom? It will be picked up by EFTU. EFTU will pick up a tRNA which has a complementary anticodon to the codon which is present at the A site. Okay, and is charged with the appropriate amino acid. Let's say if the codon is for alanine, so it will pick up an alanine tRNA alanine. Okay, tRNA alanine is the cognate tRNA for alanine, and now it has been charged with an appropriate amino acid. So this it will join now. This ribosome complex will join. So what you will have, let me draw another picture for you. And you have this codon 1, this is codon 2, and you have, this is the initiated amino acid 1, and you have this second amino acid has been brought in by the EFTU complex. Okay, so it is the responsibility of amino acid, it is the responsibility of elongation factor, the unstable subunit TU, to bring in the correct amino acid tRNA and place it at the A site. Okay, so amino acid tRNA has been placed at the A site. What remains is, after this is the GTP is hydrolyzed to GDP, and so you have here EFTU GDP complex remaining. Okay, and in the second stage, final stage, TS will join and GDP will be freed. So this unit will be, the elongation factor will be regenerated. So this is what is called as elongation cycle. This is called as elongation cycle. Okay, I'm repeating it once again. So you have this elongation factor EFT, which is made up of two subunits, the unstable subunit and the stable subunit. It exists between two forms, GTP form and GDP form. So once the GTP joins, the TS subunit leaves. So you have EFTU GTP complex. then it will pick up the correct amino acid tRNA. What is meant by correct? It is based on what is the codon at the A site. Okay, so let's say if the codon is for alanine, it will pick up an alanyl tRNA alanine. So it will form a ternary complex, amino acid tRNA EFTU GTP ternary complex, right? And then this is what the picture we had at the end of the initiation. Okay, so you had an initiated tRNA at the P site, and A site was occupied by the new codon, and this is the codon for alanine. So the new amino acid tRNA will be brought in at the A site by EFTU. So it will place it here at the A site. So now you have a tRNA placed at the A site, a tRNA placed at the P site. Okay, and then the GTPase activity, because of the GTPase activity, the GTP will be hydrolyzed, PI will be liberated. So you have EFTU GDP remaining. That EFTU GDP, TS subunit will join, GDP will leave, and this elongation factor will be regenerated. It is ready for the next cycle. It is ready for the next cycle. Okay, so now the fidelity. The fidelity means, you understand, fidelity means fidelity of the process, means the chances of error taking place during protein biosynthesis, it is reduced because of the built-in GTPase activity of the EFTU, EFT. Okay, it serves as a trimer. I'll be telling you what exactly is meant by this. Please try and understand what is meant by fidelity. So once you have this particular picture, right? So this is the point of no return. Okay, if by mistake a wrong amino acid tRNA has been placed at the A site, let's say there is a codon for alanine, what we expect? We expect a tRNA with an anticodon for alanine, and it is charged with amino acid alanine. But let's say by mistake some other amino acid tRNA comes in and it is placed by mistake at the A site, then it is the point of no return. That means after this, the next step is peptide bond formation. That means a wrong amino acid will be inserted into the polypeptide chain. So therefore, it is at this stage, a lot of scrutiny has to be done, and ribosome does that particular scrutiny. Ribosome sees to it that it is the correct amino acid tRNA that is placed at the A site. And for this purpose, it requires some time. And that time is provided by the built-in GTPase activity. Okay. It serves as a timer. Okay. It requires several milliseconds before the GTP is hydrolyzed to GDP and it leaves the complex. Let me draw it for you. So you have EFTU GTP amino acid tRNA complex, and if it is the wrong amino acid tRNA, then it will dissociate here. Then GTP will be hydrolyzed. So you will have EFTU GDP amino acid tRNA. If it is wrong amino acid, then it will dissociate at this stage also. So you have amino acid tRNA, which is placed at the A site. And then peptide bond formation. Okay, several milliseconds pass here, several milliseconds pass here. So it is up till this point. If it is a wrong amino acid tRNA that has been brought in, there is a possibility that ribosome won't allow and it will dissociate. Okay, once EFTU leaves the complex, okay, because GTP has been hydrolyzed to GDP, and in the GDP form, this EFTU has got less affinity for both ribosome and the amino acid tRNA. In the GDP form, this EFTU has very less affinity for ribosome and amino acid tRNA. So it leaves. Once it leaves, okay, and you have that particular picture wherein you have the initiated tRNA placed at P site and the new amino acid tRNA placed at A site, it is point of no return. The next step is peptide bond formation. So the built-in GTPase activity provides this much time for ribosome to scrutinize the incoming amino acid tRNA, whether it is the correct amino acid tRNA or it is not the correct one. Okay, so GTPase activity serves a very significant role. It performs a very significant function. As a result of that, the fidelity of the process increases considerably significantly. The chances of error during protein biosynthesis are minimized, right? Because of this GTPase, built-in GTPase activity of the elongation factor, which is serving as a timer. It provides additional milliseconds for the ribosome to scrutinize whether the incoming amino acid tRNA is the correct one or not. If it is not the correct one, then it is going to be dissociated either at this stage or at this stage. Okay, and in spite of all these checks, let's say if a wrong amino acid tRNA remains over there, then it will be placed at the A site and it will be incorporated into the polypeptide chain. Right? Now, after you have this particular picture, again I am drawing it. So you have, let me use a, okay. So this is amino acid 1 and this is amino acid 2, right? So once you have this and this particular stage comes after the first cycle of elongation. So you have an amino acid tRNA, the initiated tRNA, the first amino acid placed at P site, and the second amino acid, it is placed at the A site. The next step is peptide bond formation. And this peptide bond formation, it is catalyzed by an enzyme called peptidyl transferase. It is an RNA enzyme. Initially, it was thought to be a protein enzyme, but now the recent work suggests that this peptidyl transferase activity, it is basically conferred on 23S ribosomal RNA. 23S ribosomal RNA has got this particular activity. You know, this 23S ribosomal RNA is a RNA of large subunit of ribosome. It is present in the large subunit of the ribosome. Okay. So 23S ribosomal RNA of the large subunit has got this peptidyl transferase activity. Okay. Please remember, we are coming across number of examples where RNA is acting as an enzyme. 30 years back, this was not the scenario. It was the protein only who had the monopoly over the catalytic function. But in last 30-35 years or so, this monopoly of protein has been broken, and now we have increasing number of RNA molecules coming up which has got catalytic activity. This peptidyl transferase is one such. It is a 23S ribosomal RNA which has got this peptidyl transferase activity. Okay, how does it happen? So let us see this in. So let's say this is the P site, and this is the A site. And you have tRNA here. R1 indicating it is the first amino acid, and you know this first amino acid is modified amino acid. It has got a formyl group. This is the P site and this is A site. Okay, and on the A side again you have another tRNA. R2 means the second amino acid, and so peptide bond formation takes place like this, and it is catalyzed by, as I said, peptidyl transferase. So what is that thing? Let me draw it. It should be R2. This is P site and this is A site. So what has happened? This entire thing, it has been transferred here, and this is the peptide bond. This is the first peptide bond. So on the A side, this particular tRNA, which carries more than one amino acid, it is called as peptidyl tRNA. It is called as peptidyl tRNA. And the tRNA, the initiator tRNA in this case, okay, now it is divided of its amino acid, it has transferred its amino acid here, okay. So this is called as deacylated tRNA. And this is what is called as peptide bond. This is the first peptide bond, right? So this tRNA which carries more than one amino acid is called as peptidyl tRNA, right? So is this particular concept clear, that it is catalyzed by an enzyme peptidyl transferase, which is an RNA enzyme? Okay, 23S ribosomal RNA has got this activity. 23S ribosomal RNA has got this activity, and where does this 23S ribosomal RNA present? This 23S ribosomal RNA is present in the large subunit of the ribosome. It is a part of large subunit of the ribosome. All right. So I'm repeating it once again. So you have on the P side the initiator tRNA. Now you can understand how it is esterified here. To the tRNA, this is the 3' end of the tRNA. This is the 3' end of the tRNA. This is 5' end. Okay. So during peptide bond formation, this entire first amino acid will be transferred to this amino group here. So you will have peptide bond formed here, and the second amino acid This is second amino acid, this is first amino acid, and this is called as peptidyl tRNA. Now, after the peptide bond formation, the interaction of the two tRNAs So you understand what is meant by two tRNAs now. The peptidyl tRNA and the deacylated tRNA with the LSU changes. Interaction of the tRNAs, both the tRNAs. Both means you can understand now. We are talking about peptidyl tRNA and the deacylated tRNA. Please understand what I am saying. Interaction of these two RNAs, these two tRNAs with the large subunit changes. For example, the peptidyl tRNA occupies P site on LSU. Occupies P site on LSU, and in the small subunit it remains at the A site. I'm repeating it once again. Interaction with the large subunit only changes. So peptidyl tRNA, the entire tRNA was present at the A site, but after the peptide bond formation, its interaction with the large subunit changes. Now it doesn't occupy the A site on the large subunit. Rather, it occupies the P site on the large subunit. Similarly, the deacylated tRNA occupies E site on LSU, while in the small subunit it remains at the P site. Okay, so let me draw a picture for you, and probably then you can understand it properly. So it is like this. Peptide bond has been formed, so its interaction changes. What is meant by the interaction? Interaction with the large subunit changes. In the large subunit, this peptidyl tRNA, this is peptidyl tRNA. It is now occupying the P site, right? While in the small subunit, it remains at the E site. The deacylated tRNA, it occupies the E site. This is E site in the large subunit, while in the small subunit, it is still at the P site. Okay. So after peptide bond formation, this happens. And the next step is what is called as translocation. And it is sponsored by, it is catalyzed by a factor called EFG. So during translocation, three movements take place. One, the peptidyl tRNA moves from A site on SSU to P site on SSU. Means peptidyl tRNA, which was occupying the A site here, during translocation, it moves here. The upper part is already there in the LSU, it is already occupying the P site. In the SSU also, it now occupies the P site. Similarly, the deacylated tRNA moves from P site on SSU to E site on SSU. So from here, it will move to this place. It is already occupying the E site in the large subunit, but in the small subunit also it will occupy the E site. Okay, and the third movement that takes place is mRNA moves 3 nucleotides forward. All right, so mRNA will move 3 nucleotides. That means the next codon will now occupy the A site, peptidyl tRNA will occupy the P site, and the deacylated tRNA will occupy the E site. Let me draw. We have less than a minute. If it ends abruptly, we'll continue. So this is a new codon which is now occupying the A site. This is peptidyl tRNA AA1, and this is the deacylated tRNA. This is A site, this is P site, and this is E site. E, P, and A